Mommy. She said, you'll cry tonight. But not with your eyes at first. I thought the drawings were just a phase, a harmless obsession with a made-up character. Kids see things, imagine things. But this was different. The woman with no face became a constant in every page my son touched. At first, she was always in the background, always in the same pose, tall, thin, her long black hair like dripping ink. But then the drawing started changing. The faceless woman began to move closer in each one. Then came the words. The first time I noticed it, he had drawn our living room. There was me, sitting on the couch, reading, and in the far corner stood the woman, now bigger, arms longer. A crooked speech bubble stretched from where her mouth should have been. She never sees me. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. I laughed nervously, asking him what that meant. He looked up, eyes dull like fog. She says you look through her. The next day, I found a drawing slid under my bedroom door. It was more detailed than usual. This time, the woman's long arms reached to her figure lying in bed. Me. Over my face was scribbled black ink. Beneath the drawing, written in thick red crayon, were the words, "Don't let her in. She's already here." That night, the smoke alarm went off around 3:12 a.m. I jolted out of bed, heart racing. There was no fire, no smell, nothing, just silence, except for the soft patter of my son's feet in the hallway. He stood at the foot of my bed, clutching one of his drawings. "She wanted to see where you dream," he whispered. The drawing in his hand was in my bedroom. Same layout, same sheets, same night lamp. But instead of me alone in the bed, the woman was curled beside me, her long fingers resting on my face. I took the drawing and burned it the next morning, or tried to. The edges blackened, but the image never disappeared. The paper turned warm, but didn't curl. I stared at it in disbelief. My son only said one thing as he watched. She doesn't like fire. She said it reminds her of what happened last time it started subtly. Strange comments that I brushed off as coincidence or imagination. But over time, my son's words began cutting too deep. He started speaking truths no 6-year-old should even grasp, much less know. One morning, as I was brushing his hair before school, he looked at me in the mirror and said, "She cried for the baby you lost." My hand froze mid-stroke. I asked what he meant, but he didn't answer, just stare at his reflection. I'd had a miscarriage for years before he was born. I never told him. Never told anyone, not even his father. I buried it like I buried a memory of that lonely night in the hospital. That evening, he drew a picture of me crying in a hospital bed. The faceless woman sat beside me, holding something in her arms, something wrapped in blue. I tried to stay calm. I told myself he could have overheard something, maybe even seen an old file or paper I forgot to hide. But it kept happening. A few days later, he was playing with his toy truck when he asked, "Why did the man with the brown hat lock you in the basement when you were little?" I dropped the glass I was holding. My heart stopped. He was talking about my father. He used to wear a brown fedora and drink until the world stopped making sense. One night when I was 8, he locked me in our cellar for 4 hours. No lights, just me and the rats. I told no one, ever. I grabbed my son by the shoulders, trying not to scream. "Who told you that?" He blinked slowly, then pointed to the ceiling. "She said your daddy sleeps up there now, in the walls. He watches you through the cracks. She says he still blames you." My son began sleeping in the hallway after that, saying, "The lady doesn't like my room anymore. It's too close to him." I felt my world slipping. My child, my baby, was being used like a telephone by something ancient and cruel, something that had no face, but many voices. I had reached my limit. I was barely sleeping, barely eating. The house felt like it was rotting from the inside. Sounds in the walls, cold spots in the nursery, shadows that didn't match the light. The drawings wouldn't stop. Every day, my son taped a new one to the fridge, to the mirror, to the window. In each, the faceless woman came closer. In the last one, she was holding my son's hand. That's when I tried to burn them again. All of them. I lit a fire in the sink and fed each page into flames. They hissed and turned black. But when I came back from picking my son up from school, every single drawing was laid out neatly on my bed, untouched, no burns. The final one had something different. My own face, blacked out in scribbled crayon. Over my head were the words, "Trade is coming." That night, I locked every door and window. I put my son in my room and lay beside him. Just past 3 a.m., he sat up without warning and stared at the doorway. "She's here." I followed his gaze. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, but then I saw her. She stepped into the hallway, tall, impossibly still. Her long arms brushed the walls as she moved, her head tilted unnaturally to one side. And where her face should have been, nothing. No eyes, no mouth, just a void. A blank that pulled your vision like a whirlpool. She didn't walk. She glided. My son stood up and walked toward her, like sleepwalking. I screamed and grabbed him, but I couldn't move. I was frozen, not from fear, but like something had locked my muscles in place. My son looked back at me and whispered, "She says she'll take care of me now. You can go where the baby went." Suddenly, her arms stretched, inhumanly long, reaching out toward me. I heard her in my mind, like a pressure behind my eyes. "You don't deserve to remember him." Then everything went black. I woke up at dawn on the living room floor. My son was gone. All the drawings had vanished, and etched into the wall, in faint crayon strokes, was a message. "He's mine now. You looked through me too long."